Thank you so much for joining us here. We're so happy that you're spending some time with us today. I wanted to speak with Reesa Packard. She's a registered psychotherapist at the Center for Interpersonal Relationships. Hello, Reesa.
Hello, Sam. It's so nice to speak to you again.
Oh, I really enjoyed our last chat, and I really welcome the opportunity to speak with you. Of course, we're just ending what's known as Mental Health Week, but I think in many ways this conversation was really perfectly timed because so many people are thinking about mental health right now. Have you found that in your own circles?
Absolutely. What great timing for Mental Health Week, because that is bringing the focus to sort of like our internal worlds coming out into the forefront, right? Yes, I'm seeing a lot of talk, a lot of stirring right now. I think part of what's happening is that when this COVID crisis first hit, a lot of us were plagued all of a sudden with emotions of overwhelm, of anxiety, as is the case at the onset of any crisis. However, as we have continued to live through this, so we've had a bit of time and space to absorb some of what's been happening, and then certainly as we begin to anticipate the next stages of reopening and stepping back out into the world, there's a whole different set of emotional experiences that I'm seeing people come in with in my practice at CFIR. And so I'm seeing them have things like depression, like hopelessness, like helplessness and despair, and certainly the chronic boredom and understimulation that we've seen all along, but there's a new frustration to that. And so I think part of that stirring is people having different experiences increasingly.
And I think that's a really important point, because I think not, all depression doesn't look the same. All mental health doesn't look the same. It's as broad as to think all the different things that can go wrong with our body. The same, if not more, different facets can play with our minds.
Agreed. And that points to how we're all living this in our own way, even if there are these broad, maybe call them phenomena, such as what I just said, that movement away from the high stress and heightened emotion and more to the despair, the low hopelessness.
We've heard a phrase a lot. I don't know if you've seen it on social media, and it says, same storm, different boats. And I thought that was really indicative about how people are coping, because, I know people that are really busy right now, and they've been the busiest they've ever been. So they maybe haven't had that mental health piece hit them yet. And then other people whose in many ways their lives have been sort of taken away from them in terms of their work life, and maybe they're at home caring for elderly people, or they're caring for little ones 24/7. So everybody's going through the same storm, but we're just in different boats.
Very interesting. You know what I hear in that? I hear unity, like commonality in human experience. And even as we're saying the differences across person to person, and also at the same time, somehow something broad that's holding us all together.
I love that. I think it's really, really good. When we think about relationships right now, we think about, and there's been jokes about it, but I think it's actually really serious that the amount of couples that may be going through a challenging time being with each other 24/7, trying to juggle kids and Zoom meetings and the house and not being able to sort of have that alone time, if you will. Are you hearing that as well?
Absolutely. I'm hearing that. We're almost in that impossible situation. We're getting through it somehow, but really when you lay it all out, how on earth are we getting through it? I'm not really sure. We're taking it moment by moment and giving it our best shot, I guess. I think that the best tool that we have to move through this is connection. It's connection to self, and it's connection to other. In this case, when we talk about relationships, connection to other is about reaching out, so being aware when we need connection, and being aware when, connection can exist, but kind of from further away, and we can be anchored more within our own selves. Other times we need to be steeped more in that connection, and negotiating that dance between being steeped more in ourselves and being steeped more in connection is maybe the hardest thing about being in a relationship in the best of times. And we're seeing that as be part of a big part of the strain that we're experiencing within the COVID crisis, because of that pressure cooker around all the time spent together.
I was speaking with a friend the other day, and she said that she had to go pick up their weekly groceries. And normally they sort of did it as a family, as a bit of an outing. And she turned to her family. She's like, I have to go by myself. I have to. And I think those are those opportunities for us to be, and I've used the word a few times today on the show, and I usually seem to squeak it in there once a day, is vulnerable, is, that's, vulnerable to say, listen, I really do need this time by myself. And sometimes when people take it personally, whether it be family or maybe your spouse that say, well, why you don't want to be with me, or, they take it personally, then that's where the conflict starts, right?
Yeah, that's right. It can be so tricky because we're social beings and we need each other, but absolutely not at the expense of self. So if we can be whole, if we can be within ourselves and also within a relationship, of course, that's the ideal. It can feel scary to express to somebody else what we need or what's truly happening inside of us, especially when, as you say, that comes with the risk of offending them or, quote unquote, pushing them away, having them feel unwanted.
Really is important. We're speaking with Reesa Packard. She's a registered psychotherapist for the Center for Interpersonal Relationships. And when I think about, relationships, we often think about couples that are living together. But the reality is there's a lot of people living by themselves right now. Maybe it's a single mom like myself, or, I think about my mom who's a senior by herself. Relationships in that way can really be challenged too, because if you don't have that sort of connection all the time, in terms of being close together, but you're trying to stay connected as a family. Are you hearing about those challenges, Reesa?
I'm hearing about that, especially this week as we anticipate Mother's Day tomorrow. Not many people are with their mothers unless, they're young kids, young families. Most of us are in separate households. And so people are talking about feeling that distance a lot. When we talk about feeling connected, what are we actually talking about? This is what my research has been. It's a word that we use all the time, but I don't know that we really know what that means to us. What is happening for us when we feel connected versus when we don't feel connected? And my research is showing that a lot of what's happening when we feel connected is that live, embodied, in the moment, tangible connection. Like my nervous system picks up on your nervous system when we're in the same room together, making eye contact or touching. And this is a type of connection that's so fundamental to our sense of well-being, our health, and our wellness. And this is the type of connection that we've been the most deprived of over the last couple of months.
One of the things I love to do on this show is provide resources and tools. So, we've sort of talked about a couple of different scenarios, maybe couples or people living by themselves. What resources, Reesa, can you suggest to people that they may want to, to maybe tap into on the internet or find that they can help themselves get through this time?
Good question. Well, I think that I'll say right off the bat, psychotherapy is more accessible now than ever. It's one of the positive changes coming out of the COVID crisis, where not only teletherapy and online therapy makes it more accessible, but also some insurance coverages are extending their policies. So you might want to look into that and see if you're eligible for more than you were before. The other thing in terms of, so CFIR, we all have blogs and we all have information, so you can check us out on social media. There's a constant stream of information from the therapists that are putting that out there. But ultimately, I think that the biggest resource that we have is ourselves. I think that there's so much value in checking in with yourself, taking once or twice a day, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds if you can tolerate it. And check in with your thoughts, check in with your feelings, check in with even your bodily sensations, and ask yourself, how am I really doing right now? And maybe we can sit with that. If we can sit with that, it can give us a lot of information about what we might need in the moment. And then while we're doing that, can we check in with others too? Because maybe if I need something, there's somebody around me, therapist or not, who can help me. And then maybe I can also help them, because if the dose of feel-good chemicals that happen in our brain when we do help somebody are so rewarding for us as well. And then in that way, we can kind of incrementally help each other out. You help me, I help me, also by helping you. And we can build each other up that way. Maybe connection is our biggest resource.
Reesa, is this a good time to talk to our teens about mental health?
To our who, sorry?
Our teens, our teenagers.
Absolutely. Now is a good time to talk to everybody about mental health. Experts are predicting a big increase in mental health crisis. We're in an unprecedented situation when it comes to not only infectious disease, but also mental health. So now's a good time to have this conversation with everybody. I wouldn't restrict that in any way.
Really important. I really always appreciate your insight. And I think mental health, like you say, we're going to be seeing something further in terms of a crisis in the future. And I really value the work that you're doing and have an opportunity to join me to try and share those tools with people. I'm really grateful for that. Reesa Packard, registered psychotherapist for the Center for Interpersonal Relationships. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
At 2:00.